Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. This has been a wonderful behind the scenes talk with my next guest. This is David Mitchell, and welcome to Straight from the Source, where we talk about basketball, football, any type of sports that there is. But we also talk about business, okay? It's what we do because sports and business go hand in hand. Sometime I'll have a guest that'll be more sports oriented. Sometime I'll have a guest that'll be more business oriented. Today I have a phenomenal guest that actually it's more business oriented, okay? It's going to be very informative, this next conversation. So without further ado, my next guest is the former mayor of the city of Dayton, Ohio. Okay, you guys may know her by the name of Miss Rhine Mclin. Okay, let me give you a little bit of information on Miss McLin because her resume is extensive. Trust you me. Let me get this here together for you. I've got so many notes here. It's just unbelievable. All right. So from the years 1989 through 1984, okay, my next guest served as an Ohio State representative. From the years of 1994 through 2001, my next guest became the first ever African-American female Ohio senator in the state. Let me repeat that. I did say first ever African-American female senator in the state of Ohio. Also, in 2002 through 2010, she became elected as the first African-American female mayor of the city of Dayton, Ohio. All right, let's welcome to the show the one and only. And she is a Dayton, Ohio native and a graduate of Parsons College in Iowa. And she's a graduate of Xavier University in Cincinnati. Welcome to the show, former mayor Rhine Mclin. Hello, Mayor.
Well, hi there, David. I just want to start off and say I am just so excited that you asked me, you reached out to me to do this, and doing this type of podcast is something new for me. So I'm excited because I always like new experiences. And this
Well, I'm glad you're getting this new experience because listen, you seem to be ageless. You seem to be, just like wine, a fine wine gets greater with time. And when I think of you, first of all, let me say this. I go back to when I was a young kid, a young boy, and growing up, and all of the Mitchells family, all of my extended second and third families, okay, have always had an utmost respect for you. Miss Rhine Mclin, we've always had a respect for your dad. Rest in peace, C.J. Mclin Jr. I mean, and the legacy that you both have left. And I mean, and your legacy is still going, may I add. Now, where do I start with you? I said you graduated, you went to Parsons College in Iowa, you graduated from Xavier University in mortuary science and things of that. You majored in sociology at Parsons, and I think it's why you relate so well to people. The first question I have for you tonight, though, Mayor, is what made you, is it just something in you? You just used to walk the streets of Dayton. I mean, you were so approachable. Why are you so approachable?
I think it's because of my upbringing. Growing up in a funeral home made you appreciate life and how fragile it was, and that at a second's notice it could be gone. And so being kind to people and trying to have people be approachable to you was very important. And that's what my grandfather and my father taught me, is that people are important. I don't care how high or how low. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
is important because everybody dies.
Yes, absolutely. You're definitely right about that. We're born, but we have to die.
You're not going to get out of here alive, that's for sure.
We're not gonna get out of here alive, right? That's for sure. Um, when you were at a very young age, where did you get it in you? Where did it come from to, first of all, get influenced enough to say, you know what, I want to do what my dad did. I mean, or I want to do what my dad does. What made you? Was you daddy's girl?
Yeah, probably. I always said I was my father's daughter's son. Um, I never wanted to be any part of politics. I just saw how time consuming it was and how much it took away from the family.
Mm-hmm.
And how mean people could be to you, no matter what you did for them. It's like, what have you done for me lately? But I did enjoy the family business.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really enjoyed doing the family business. And it wasn't until I took over the family business that my dad's political career actually took off, because then he didn't have to worry about that. He could focus on his politics
Mm-hmm.
and serving people at their lowest point, and then watching them, seeing them later on as they went through the grieving process, become to move on with their life. Because in a funeral, the reason why you have a procession is to show the grieving people that life is going on around you.
Wow.
And that's where you're supposed to get to. And so that was my thing. So when my father was dying, and he had just gotten reelected. I mean, he had all these guys around him, all these people. I'm just sure I'm the last person he was thinking of was me, because after all, I was a girl too, because he's from that era.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said he wanted me to, if he didn't make it, he wanted me to finish out his term, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, me? Okay. So, I mean, how do you tell your dying daddy no?
Absolutely. It's hard to do something like that, but I know he knew when he saw something in his daughter. And at this point, you was like, how can I tell daddy no? And look at the end result. We know good and well that, I believe in ancestry and people who went on before us and paying it forward. You know where I'm from. And my thing is this: he's looking down on you, so happy and successful with the things you've done and that you've accomplished. And we ain't even got into what all you've accomplished, because a lot of people, when they watch this, going out on all the social medias, Mayor, it's going to be Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, some other Amazon TV, Roku TV, some other that will go out to. But for those who just don't know who I'm really dealing with tonight, you in for a treat. You in for a real live treat. Now, you're a trailblazer, okay? In my opinion, you're a trailblazer. I've had so many firsts on my show, and I want to recognize the fact that it is Black History Month. And I put a post out of you for Black History Month. I truly believe you are to be celebrated every day as a queen, not just, for your service, but, just a woman of God in general. With that being said, um, I never met anyone that was so approachable, so helpful. I worked on your campaign many years ago, and I was recruited by Bootsy Neal. And yes, I mean, come on, and passing out those flyers and going door to door as we used to do, in the streets of Dayton, and seeing the results. I already knew wasn't gonna be no loss for the Mclins anyway. Wasn't gonna be no loss for you, but it was fun. And that was my first time ever doing anything in politics, getting out, helping people vote. And I really want to thank you for that opportunity, because believe it or not, if no one's ever been with Rhine Mclin on a voting campaign, okay, you wouldn't understand. But if you've been with her, then you know what I'm talking about. It's experience that you never forget. You had us out there hustling, you and Bootsy. Oh my Lord, we was out there hustling. I've got so many things on here on this list for you. So I'm going to jump all over the place because I know you ready, okay? Now, when you got into politics, okay, you start out in the Ohio State Representatives from 1989 through 1994. Then you moved up. Take me back to the Ohio State Representative level. Was it your goal to become the first African-American female senator?
No. The opportunity came. I ran after being appointed to my daddy's seat. I said, I had to run to show that my dad didn't make a mistake. So I ran. They changed the district because of redistricting. So I ran. And so when the opportunity came up, Senator Neil Zimmers was retiring. Mm-hmm. And so at first they talked to me about whether I wanted to be appointed. And I said, no, I've had one appointment. I'll take it. If it's meant for me to have, I'll earn it. And they tried to tell me about this Democratic district. You know, they were talking about Democrats, so many Democrats in this district. Well, needless to say that they did not tell me that this district went all the way up to Piqua, Ohio. Mm. So, and the further north I went, the fewer Black people I saw.
Wow.
So I'm saying, oh my goodness. Okay, I'm being thrown out here to the wolves. I don't know if I'm going to make this. But I said, okay, but if I don't make it, I'll just go back to the funeral home. I said, because I never entered my mind about making history. It meant whether we're going to win or lose. And I was saying, well, since my dad had been a state rep for 22 years, mm-hmm. Why don't I take what he did and take it to a step higher, which would be the state senate, which should become one of 33 instead of one of 99. Mm. So I said, okay. I mean, I really worked hard in Tip City, West Milton. And so Parsons College really kicked in then. It really kicked in Ohio for me to navigate this. Uh-huh. And when I won, I was just as surprised as everybody. There were those who were surprised, but nobody could have been more surprised than me. Wow. I never had to raise that kind of money. We raised over $300,000. I mean, that was just something that we weren't used to doing. And when we looked up and there it was, woo, I am the first Black female state senator. Me. Right. Off of Krug and Germantown Street.
Wow.
Here I am. And once I got there, I went on to become the first female minority leader. And so the beauty of it all is this, is that being a pioneer, you really don't benefit from it. Mm-hmm. But the benefit of it is having others come behind you. And other Black women have been state senators and are state senators. Other Black women have been minority leaders and minority leaders even in the House. So when I see that, then what all I went through makes it worthwhile, because the only time you should look down on anybody is to pull somebody else up.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about. Don't look down on anyone. Always pull someone up. I really appreciate you sharing that. So you sort of just had to go into becoming the first African-American female senator because you sort of felt, again, that connection to your dad. Plus, it was going to make it where it was less people to work with which was better for you?
To get things done. I spent 13, my dad had started what they call the Correctional Institutional Inspection Committee that inspected prisons. And during my whole time there, I spent 13 years investigating prisons in the state of Ohio to make sure that inmates were treated properly as well as employees were getting what they needed. In fact, at one time they used to joke and say that if the prisoners could vote for me, I would have been governor.
Absolutely. 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 All the tremendous work that you have done in criminal justice, people just do not know. All the things that you've done. I'm going to continue to get into it because it's just so much with you. So we got the senator there. I'm sort of moving you up the ladder here. You go through that process. Now it's 2001. You become the first African-American female mayor, obviously, of Dayton. And I think you were the third actual
African-American.
Yes.
But I was the first female.
First female, but third African-American. Exactly. Correct. What was that like as you went up the levels for you? Did your workload become more? Was it less? Did you delegate more to others to help you? How did you do that?
You know, being mayor was probably the hardest job I've ever had. But I do want to say this about becoming mayor of Dayton. What it meant, the state senator was taking the job of state rep higher than what my dad had done as a state rep. Becoming mayor of the city of Dayton. My grandfather ran for a city commission back in the 50s. And at that time, they threw acid on the sidewalks at the funeral home, tried to make it look like he was a communist. They had a newspaper that came out with a black hand all over the city. So when I won mayor, that was saying, Granddaddy, this is for you. Yeah. And because it brought it full circle of serving the place that had rejected him. Being mayor was very difficult because it's a very, first of all, being a female and being an African-American female is doubly hard. And trying to get that respect that you need to get things done. But one thing that no matter what, throughout my whole political career and just my life, I'm unapologetically Black.
Yes.
And I'm not making any excuses or making any allowances any other way. And sometimes when I go visit the businesses, I would say, you know, how many African Americans, not minorities, how many African Americans do you know?
Yes, specific.
And then they would start naming them. I said, stop. If you can name them, you don't have enough.
Wow.
So, you know, those are the kind of things that you do behind the scene that doesn't generally win friends. But the fact is, you never shy away from being Black. And one of the things that I've learned and that my dad taught me, that when Black people are on boards, you're there for a reason. You are not there to be a part of them. You are there to be their consciousness, to do the right thing for your people.
Y'all heard it from the mayor. I love it. Absolutely. I love the fact that what you just said, y'all heard it right here on Straight from the Source. Listen, she holds no punches. I mean, you know, basically you let people know you're unapologetically Black, you know, and you have to fight for our people. And that's what I love so much about you, is because a lot of times the society that we live in has gotten caught up in titles. And if you put up minority, it's a title to me. It's not being specific in who we're talking about. There's all type of races that they put under this minority label. You said, what are you doing? How many specific Blacks are in here? How many specific Blacks are you trying to help get parole that deserve parole? How many are you holding here that should not be here, that deserves a break? And I think that's why you're right. You are beloved. And if it was anybody voting for you that was incarcerated, anybody was voting for you just in general, period. Once they realize your spirit and what you stand for, it's a no-brainer. It's definitely a no-brainer. Your committees. I just want to jump into this, y'all, because I got to move a little faster. Because, listen, you've been on, I'm going to name something, right? You've been on, and I know it's impossible. I know you just sort of lend some of your influence, but I mean, y'all, listen to this. You have served on numerous boards, Rhine Mclin, and committees, from Fair Housing Board, from the Montgomery County elections, vice chair of the Ohio Democratic Party, Midwest chair of the ASDC, committee for the correctional institutions as well, sex abuse, welfare reform, finance, direct entry, midwifery, student council. I mean, this is just a few, as you know. There's so many different things that you've done. How do you do it? How do you be a part of so many different things to lend your time to during this period of time?
Well, those committees were some that I served on in the state house. Some of them I've served on since I've been out of office, as the Miami Valley Fair Housing. Every committee that I've ever served on I had a passion for the issue. I had a passion for the issue, and even to this day, that if I sign up to do something, it's because I have a passion for the issue.
Yes.
And I think that it's important. You got to remember this. You got to help. You got to love Black people in spite of themselves.
Yes.
And I mean, really down in the bowels of your soul.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if we're waiting to say thank you, it may never come. So when you do serving our people, because institutional racism and systemic racism has been so embedded in our lives that we have so much to overcome. So I can't, you can't get upset. You can't get angry because we've been oppressed. I mean, even when you go to the Afro-American Museum in Washington, D.C., you see more white people in there than you see Blacks. So the problem is, I'm living in a city right now that's 33% poverty. It has a 33% poverty level. I substitute teach in the Dayton public school system that has close to 20% homeless children. And higher than that are children who are living in foster care. And so when you say, why do you sub? Not me, then who?
Right.
These children need to see somebody that looks like me, that cares about them. That I'm not afraid to hug you. I'm not afraid to touch you. And I'm not afraid to tell you to sit there and act like a lady.
Exactly.
And so this, we are fighting. We've lost a generation or two or three. But as Jesse Jackson always said, keep hope alive. And that's why each one of us must do our very part in the space that we use. Yes. I'm not talking about a big committee. I'm talking about the space that you use. Make a difference.
Yes, ma'am. Whatever platform that is, y'all heard her. Make a difference. Make a difference. Now, listen, as we continue to move on here, because it's just so many different committees and things, I want to add some awards in here, right? You were the Ohio Parks and Recreation, right, Legislature of the Year. Okay. Now, not only that, you also were, let's see here. I got so many different things on you. I might have put that somewhere else. Um, oh no, the Dayton Urban League National Council. Oh no, that's something else. Anyway, speak on that right quick for me when you were that honor of being the Ohio Parks and Recreation Legislator of the Year. What did that mean to you? Because when I think of Ohio Parks and Recreation, for me, I was out there. I grew up in the boys' clubs and learned a lot in the Ohio Parks and Recreation system. And I don't see the kids out there anymore. It's changed so much.
Well, during the time that that I got that award, I helped push to make sure we had some money to make sure our parks were up to par, and that it was I was an advocate, and I still am an advocate for parks and recreation, because our young people nowadays are focused on video games, and they're very sedentary. They don't exercise. I remember subbing in a class where it was gym. I was so excited. I had gym.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, we're going to go around. We're going to walk 4 laps. And I ended up being the only one finishing because they were tired. And if you can remember back in the 60s with John F. Kennedy, you did these ropes, you had to climb these ropes, you had to do sit-ups, you had to do all of these exercises because they wanted us to have a healthy community. And you talked about your wellness earlier with me. The fact is, when your body is well, your mind is too.
Yes. When your health is your wealth, you're right. When your body's right, your mind's right.
It really has a lot to do with how you function and your attitude. I do what you call the urban gym, and the urban gym is what we call street walking.
Okay.
But I gave it a name, urban gym.
Right.
So and I'm walking in my hood and everything. And I know my hood, and you can see the beauty in the hood. I get to see my peeps on the street.
Yeah.
I see real. I want to be down with them
Yeah.
because everybody is important.
Yes.
And that they say, well, I want to take a picture with you. Sure, let's take it too. It's okay because everybody has value, and I believe that. And when I was mayor, every Friday I would do weddings. And so I run into some of the couples that I married, and they say, let's take a picture, and I would say, yeah, sure. And I really enjoy people, and I like to see people doing well. And I think elected officials sometimes forget who they are. And I never thought of myself any more than a constituent. So if I pass this bill, how's it going to impact me? Because it's going to impact me.
Yes.
And that's how I looked at everything as a constituent. How is this going to impact my neighbor? How is this going to impact someone over there? And that's how I always saw myself, that I was no bigger than anyone else. You make the title will always be there. You make the office, and not the office make you. You make the office. And I always believe it's in the Proverbs, I believe, and it's about humility before honor.
Yes.
And I truly believe that, because my dad used to always say, he who toots his own horn is seldom asked for an encore.
Wow. Woo, y'all, we dropping nuggets today. We appreciate you chiming in over here. Let me just give a little shout out to some people who's chimed in already here. We're giving, hey, the Sumlin family's on. Rhonda Sumlin, shout out. How you doing? Coach Ron Sumlin, Fairview High School legend. We appreciate you chiming in. Carl Mitchell, my brother, doing wonderful work in the community, working with those men who are coming home from being incarcerated himself. He's helping these men. He's been doing this for, I guess now, 15, 20 years, helping returning citizens. So proud of my brother, Carl Mitchell. Man, it's just Dr. Linda Mitchell. Appreciate you chiming in. That's my beautiful queen and wife, Mayor. Pam Yogi Carter. We got another Bulldog Fairview in the house. We just appreciate you. My brother, which is also my pastor, Brother Robert Mitchell. Appreciate you chiming in. No good and well. First Lady Fran is in, and others as well. Now, in terms of your career, let me just continue to go because there's so much in here, and I appreciate you guys letting me, because wherever I go with Miss Rhine Mclin, it's going to be a good place to go on her resume. Here we go. All right, you made a Twitter quote recently, and you say you're not much on social media, but when I saw this, I said, oh my Lord, I have to quote this back. So your Twitter quote recently was, "You are not finished when you lose. You are not finished when you lose. You are finished when you quit." Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Absolutely. That is a the reason why I put that out there is because unfortunately a lot of people feel that if they lose, then they don't have the ability to get back up to try something else. And
Yes.
sometimes God, that wasn't what God wanted for you in the first place. And
Mm.
so he's trying to get your attention to move you to another direction, because I always say God knows the ending before we even know the beginning.
Woo.
And so with that if you keep going, you're going to get there. And you're not going to get there if you quit.
Amen.
Gotta keep it moving. I always say that, death is going to get me, but it's going to, I want to go with my boots on. I'm just not going to be hanging around moaning and groaning. I want to go with my boots on. And that's another Twitter that I put out there recently that I really like. Mm-hmm. And that is the one that says, "I don't mind being useful, but I do not like being used."
Woo! Y'all hear that? I love it. I love it. That's incredible. That's incredible. Y'all, we just want to make sure that we drop in dimes of wisdom on this show straight from the source with David Mitchell. And we have former mayor of the city of Dayton, Rhine Mclin, on the show. She don't do a whole lot of shows, so this is like incredible for me to have an honor. I mean, this is like a total honor for me and a privilege. Let me keep going on her extensive resume here. Let's have a little fun right quick. In politics, you know everybody. You meet everybody. Let's see. All right. From your dad, who was basically a walking celebrity, have you met? Tell us just some of the people that you've met in politics, that people may not be aware of, or they may know of, but it's like, wow, she's in talks with these type of people. And the reason why I know that you know so many people is because I've met some people in these arenas myself, right? And I'll give you one example of someone you may know before you answer who all you've been around. And I'm going to throw a few names out there. I'll throw one name out there. Wonderful Daytonian, wonderful friend of the Mitchell family and the community. He's done so many things. His name is Anthony B. Whitmore. Mr. Whitmore has done a lot. He was, I have to get in touch with him. I want him on the show. And I just lost his number or something, but I'm going to get in touch with Doc. That's my man. He done a lot in the community. And when I went in his office, he had pictures with Bill Clinton, right? He had pictures with Ronald Reagan. He had a multitude of he has a multitude of political connections. So just tell us some of the people that you were in talks with. And I already know one, I know, did you meet the late, great Martin Luther King? Because I know you presented, because you did present Coretta Scott King.
Coretta Scott King.
With an award.
I never met Martin Luther King, but I did have the opportunity to meet Coretta Scott King, which was such an honor at the University of Dayton. And I got to meet Diana Carroll. I like her.
Yes.
You know, I get the thing about meeting celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
These people are really just like you and I.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they may have more money, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, these folks hurt and have pains just like we do.
Just like we do.
And so I really don't see these folks as celebrities. I just see them as people who have been in a position to do ordinary people to do some extraordinary things. And that's just how I see them. And so I have no high expectation of the goo goo gaga of them
Mm-hmm.
because they're just like you and I.
I
They have their
appreciate
ups and
you.
their downs. Yeah.
We so much alike. That's the way I think. When I had these NBA players or different celebrities and things that come on the show, I'm like, I always tell my wife, I say they're just like us. They may be on these levels. We know it's levels of things when it comes to money and different things. But when it boils down to it, they're going to take off their clothes like we do and different things. So I appreciate that. And that's why you've always been so approachable, because you're a people person first and foremost, and you don't judge, and you're not looking at people for their status. And that's very, very important. I appreciate you sharing that. Also, keep moving it right along. Now, you're a licensed funeral director as well and embalmer. Okay. Did you happen to know, or do you even remember the Stokes Funeral Home in Dayton many years ago?
Now I don't remember the Stokes.
Okay.
I know the
Okay.
Dickens.
That
I
was
know the Jones. I
mhm.
know the Bowmans.
Yep, definitely no
Uh,
Bowmans.
the Smiths.
The Smiths.
Um, but no, of course Lorette's. I don't remember the Stokes.
He was
But
very small over off of Home Avenue, I believe. And I'm trying to think of that street that ran. It was off of Home Avenue and something else. I want to say over by the old Weaver School a bit. But it was a small agency. And just a little story, right? And I know you won't even flinch a bit. But I always think about it when we think about you and mortuary science and burying people, a business that'll always be there. So this was my uncle on my mom's side, I believe, right? So my brother, Bob, him and my oldest sister, Niecy Carolyn, Carolyn Denise, we call her Niecy, they saw the body move, right? When they, because sometimes they have reactions and different things or something. So they were at the funeral home when they was young. And I guess the body kind of sit up on them or something. And they say they were just scared, right? So it was laugh to me. It was funny, but I think I'd have probably been jumping too a little bit. But none of that for you. It was something that you went to school at Xavier University. You majored in mortuary science. And this is something that you wanted to do. Obviously, like you say, we're born to live and we have to die. But that particular field in itself, though, is that just the reason why you chose it? Or what was the reason why you chose that field?
well, now I got my master's from Xavier in guidance and counseling. The Cincinnati College of Mortuary Science, I have an associate degree in mortuary science.
Okay.
And what happened was, because I was running the business and my dad was sick and my sister had just had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it was between the two of us who would go to embalming school so that we would have a licensed embalmer for our business. Because my dad firmly believed that you should never have a business that somebody else knows more about what your business is. So you should know your own business. So I was the one that was selected to go to embalming school. And I went to embalming school during the day and would sit in the hospital with my dad at night So when I graduated, he graduated from this same embalming school, as
Mhm.
well as my brother even
Mhm.
graduated from this embalming school.
Mhm.
He was the first time in the school's history that a graduate of the school and daughter, the father gave the speech, the graduate
Mm.
speech. And my dad was just so sick, but he did it. And that was like in October. Of course, he died in December, but it was such a turning point for embalming school was that was not on my that was not on my plate of to do. You can and I went with and Wanda Roberts, and I drove every day because her father had just died,
Mhm.
and with the Roberts Funeral Home. So she and I would go every day, and it was, and she had just finished college, and so here we are. But like I said, that was not on my bucket list of things to do. But it goes back to you do what you have to do when it needs to be
Yeah,
done.
absolutely. And we appreciate you for doing all that you've done in your career to not just help Daytonians, but to help people around the world. I got something else I want to ask you about here. Now, I'm going to throw another name out. I was in the 5th grade, right? And I
Okay.
was at Weaver School, and I was making my ceramics, right? And I never forget this. I can visualize it like it was yesterday. My teacher was the current mayor of the city of Dayton, Mr. Jeffrey Mims. And Mr. Mims, this is my thoughts on Mr. Mims, right? He just, I don't know what it is about. Not, is it something about being a mayor? Because neither you or him seem like you're aging at all. I mean, I don't know what do we have to be a mayor not to age? Because you and Mr. Mims look incredible. And he's been, I mean, like he's been someone that I haven't seen Mr. Mims person in a while. We've said a couple of texts, I believe, on social media and whatnot. I sent him an invitation to come on the show, and I guess eventually he'll get back when he can. But what's your thoughts on what current Mayor Jeffrey Mims is doing in the city right now, and just your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that every mayor has their own agenda.
Okay.
And I think that my agenda was more of being the people's mayor,
Mm.
and that I also wanted to make sure I could help clean up the west side
Yes.
and deal with abandoned houses and get and one of my big issues was about litter, clean
Yeah.
up the city. Those were some of my issues, and I was kind of artsy too,
Mm-hmm.
and I was supportive of small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Mr. Mims is getting into his stride. I mean, he's only been there a year,
Yes.
and he's always been in education. So
Yeah.
I think it's taking a little bit time to flip the education hat to the city of
To the
Dayton.
city of Dayton had. Yes.
Yeah, because his heart is education.
Yes.
And so I think that he's making strides in that area.
Appreciate you. And when we speak of that education, when I talk to Mr. Mims, I'm gonna let him know honestly, I only know how to be transparent. I was so hurt in 1983 when they closed like 5 or 6 high schools in the city of Dayton. It was, and I was under the impression that it was for, they say, for example, Fairview, my high school, Kaiser, Roth, and those schools, Roosevelt, closed even before then, Wilbur Wright High School, and etc. You know,
Patterson, Patterson.
Patterson. It was just tragic, and we had to look for schools just out of nowhere. But do you think the chartering of those schools. They came out with these charter schools talking about this was one of the reasons we think that the education levels are going to get higher in the city of Dayton. I just want to, stress that a lot of people think that the schools should have been kept the way they were. But what's your opinion on that? Do you think that the education did it get better after closing all those schools?
Well, one of the reasons why a lot of the schools were closed because Dayton lost its population.
Yeah.
And it didn't have the children.
Yes.
That it once had.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one reason. The other thing is when we talk about charter schools versus public education, you and I both benefited from a very good public education. Public schools were second to none. And that if somebody wanted to go to a private school, they probably went to a Catholic school.
Yeah.
That was the option. Today, we have a lot of charter schools, and a lot of those come from to give what they call children choice for education. So what happens is that your charter schools, to a degree, are the students there generally have smaller classes. They have an opportunity. They don't have as many disciplinary problems that they have in the public schools. So your public schools now, for lack of a better term, it's the catch-all.
Okay.
It's the catch-all. There's a lot of special needs classes in the public school system. I don't think people realize how many they are and how young. I mean, they start at preschool and go up. And when we're talking about special needs, we're talking about emotional as well as disabilities that these children have. And the Dayton public school system has more than its fair share. But because the charter schools don't have to do that. And so what you end up having is that the charter schools get to have a little bit of the cream of the crop to a degree.
Yeah.
And because the parents choose to send their child to a charter school, then in many instances, that means the parents are choosing to be involved with their children.
Okay.
And that is what's missing a lot in the Dayton public school system is the parental involvement on a positive level. There are some, don't get me wrong, there are some, but overall, there is not the parental involvement that you would see in a charter school or like a Chaminade or Julian. But there are schools in Dayton that do have that, like a Horace Mann or a River Edge that do have that.
I appreciate you sharing. I wanted to know your thoughts on that.
And one of the things that we got, since this is an opportunity to put this out here, because 93% of all the teachers in the state of Ohio are white. And so these teachers are in these inner city schools.
Yes.
And there is a different, no matter how good they want to be or try to be, there is a cultural disconnect in many instances.
Wow. That's important.
And the question is, and I don't have the answer, but the question is, why aren't African Americans going into education?
Excellent question. Why aren't we going into education? I know one.
And especially because so many of the girls and the boys do not see enough positive men. There's a lot of males out there, but ain't a whole lot of men.
Right. That means a lot. Y'all hearing it. You know the mayor don't hold no punches. She's telling it just like it is. Absolutely. Listen, moving right along in your career here. Listen, you've not only been through all the politics and still going through politics, and you went through everything with dealing with, running the business of mortuary and things of that nature, a funeral home, have you. Now, you also known as a TV radio personality. You have, in my opinion anyway, and you have done some wonderful, incredible interviews. I also want to give a shout out before I ask you the question to my former high school teammate and Fairview Bulldog for life, Mr. David Webb, founder of the Funk Center
Oh,
in
that's some
Dayton,
exciting
Ohio.
stuff getting ready to happen with that. Yes.
What has it been like working with David over there, interviewing all of these funketeers?
Oh, this has been, like I said, I'm in the last 3 to 5 years, I have really just been all out of my comfort zone. I mean, I've
Mhm.
just been stretching myself. So when David had somebody that was doing it and they quit, and so he called me and he says, "Why don't you do this?" I said, "Me? Well, the closest thing I've done to this is like run a nightclub.
Yeah.
I used to. My dad had a club called the Place over there by the Soda Bass,
Mhm.
and I would work in the funeral home in the day and work in the club at night. My sister worked in the club during the day at the Place. So I mean, I know how to run a bar. And
Absolutely.
my dad used to have the Farndale, and I mean, I've met all these guys like Count Basie, Ruth Brown, Big May Bell, Little Richard, and Ray Charles. They all came through.
Wow.
But anyway, and so he says, "Why don't you do this?" Well, I just love music. So anyway, I said, "Okay, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to do this." So, and it's been so much fun doing the Funk Chronicles. I have enjoyed it so much being able to be a part of the Funksters, and now we're in the plans of getting a permanent home in Trotwood.
Yes.
City of Dayton just couldn't seem to see the value, but
Mm.
that's Dayton.
Mm.
Dayton has always been like that. I mean, they
Mm.
didn't even really recognize the Wright brothers. They had to go North Carolina
Wow.
to get some respect. So
Mm.
Phil Donahue was here, and
Started here.
they couldn't get no respect. So he went to Chicago. You had Irma
Yes.
Bombach. She couldn't get no respect.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a Dayton thing.
It's a
I mean,
dating thing.
think about even the Ohio players. You go to California, you go anywhere, you talk about the Ohio players, everybody knows about it.
Everybody knows.
Lakeside, it was interesting. Lakeside in December had a concert. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't get 100 people. They had a free concert. Everybody showed up. So,
Wow.
Shirley Murdoch being here, I mean, it's a Dayton thing.
It's a
It's
dating
a
thing.
Dayton thing.
But you
Yeah.
know what, Mayor, it's so, I don't know, I want to say sad because everybody knows about Dayton where you go. When you mention that funk music,
Yeah.
it's inspiring across the world. The heat wave. We had heat wave. We had Lakeside. We had Sun. We had
Yeah. Dayton.
Dayton,
Fazo.
Platypus. I mean,
Fazo.
Fazo.
Zap.
Sapping, right? I mean, the Roger Troutman, the list go on and on. Shirley Murdoch, like you say, everybody. That Hall of Fame should be in Dayton. If it's in Trotwood, I'm considering them, still calling it Dayton. If I'm in Dayton, I'm in Trotwood. So that, and wishing you and David the best with that because he was on my show as well. We go way back. He came on and we had a wonderful interview, and I know that's near and dear to David Webb's heart. And I want you to know,
And they're doing the Dayton scene now, and
yes,
all the way up into Canada. Folks have picked it up. The point is, this is the fact: is that it is still the Dayton thing. Is that sometimes we get so caught up on who's going to get the credit or who, or sometimes we want to kill the messenger so we don't get any more messages. But the fact is, no matter whether you like it or not, David Webb has been focused and passionate about making this happen. He took this ball when everybody else was just running their mouths, and he started making things happen. So kudos to David Webb on
Kudos.
on having the vision and the drive and the passion to go even through all the alligators.
Absolutely. Was it
Keep your
anybody?
eye- What's that? Keep your eye on the prize.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, listen, and it's amazing because Pam Yogi Carter just said it's true. It's a Dayton thing. You know, when you think about it, we've had so many when we flash back. Let me take y'all back. Dayton, what do we have? Probably about 250, 270 something thousand people. We had all of these Fortune 500 companies from NCR to IBM, Standard Register,
Mead.
Mead.
Barbara Jordan used to come here because she sat on the Mead board.
Did she?
Yeah, she used to come. Yeah,
That's
she used to
right.
come to Dayton. And every time she would come to Dayton, she would go to Wagaman School.
Wow. Y'all
I
heard
mean,
it.
these are the kind of things that we have. We had, but I mean, it's a Dayton. I really believe it's just a Dayton thing.
Just a Dayton thing to be the
I do.
birthplace of all these groups. No city in all of America, no one place has had more groups of music come out than the city of Dayton. You know,
I interviewed a group over in Springfield, because you had Johnny Lido and but it was called the Shades of Brown, the different shades of brown.
yeah.
And they were the first group out of Springfield to get a contract with Motown.
Okay.
And right when they had their hit, the lead singer left to be a minister.
Wow.
They did a play called Motown, a play called Motown to Gospel, and David was able to get them. I interviewed them on their 50th anniversary. This is the first time all these guys, after that had happened, had
Came
come
together.
back together. Yeah.
Woo. Another first. Another first. Let me go through something else with you here. I wanted to ask you, did you have anything to do with, or can you explain a little bit about the Riverscape area in Dayton? I was under the impression, I'm out here in Hampton Roads, Virginia area, Metro, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, Baltimore. Did that have anything, the city of Baltimore, to do with the way the Riverscape is set up?
The Metro Parks did that here. And Metro Parks are all throughout Ohio. And I think probably in other states too. Metro Parks, but ours is very, for so long. And see, it's a Dayton thing. For so long, because of the flood, we have been always afraid of the river. Right. We never embraced the river. We were afraid of the river. But now, we have the Miami Valley Conservancy District, which is top notch to make sure we're not going to flood again. But we do kayaking. I go kayaking on the river, and they've done some little stuff that give us some extra little waves and stuff. So now there is a whole river corridor program that's done by the University of Dayton that's going to go from like Sydney, Ohio, that you can come all the way down the river.
Oh, wow.
And go all the way down to Miamisburg and places like that. So, and we would come a long ways, but Dayton still doesn't even want to participate with that. It's with the river corridor. And so the thing is, it's a Dayton thing. I just want to say, it's just a Dayton thing. When we go back to the Dayton Dragons, when the Dayton Dragons, they didn't want to build it. They didn't want it to be there, and the place has been sold out every year. And once it gets there, it's like, oh, okay, we can live with this.
You took me to my next question. I was going to say, and then what about one thing that's been so phenomenal for Dayton has been the Dayton Dragons. I was going to mention that. And
the Dayton Dragons, we've had the Schuster Center, which was the old Reichs, and to have all the arts and talent to come in. And in fact, this past weekend, I went to see the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company.
Yes.
here's another thing. It's a Dayton thing. World renowned.
The arts are huge in Dayton.
Dayton Contemporary Dance Company.
Yes.
World renowned.
World renowned.
International. And you got to beg for people to go to the concerts when they're here in town.
Yes.
I mean, it's a Dayton thing. You know, Geraldine Blunden, I remember, you know, she was a member of Philip Temple Church. Her father sold insurance. I was on their board, the first board. We used to meet in the basement of the church.
Wow.
And to see her daughter, Debbie, carry her mother's legacy. Whenever you see a child actually can understand the mission of the parent and carry the legacy, that's a blessing.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing when you recognize what that parent and then you carry the legacy. It's a blessing.
You carry that baton.
You did it.
But every child can't do it.
Right.
You know, some children, the pressure is so great that they either, because if they do something, the people will say, well, you're not doing no more than what's expected of you. So they don't get the praise there. So a lot of them just do the opposite and do nothing.
Wow. Now.
And you see that.
Let's see, Mayor. Also,
now I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the things I like to do. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is skydiving. And I've been skydiving for over 20 years. And it's such an exhilarating experience because I call it a cheap facelift because, you know, at least for 30 seconds or so that pushes your face back. But it's one of those things that gets me so excited because, you know, while you're riding in this plane with all this equipment on and stuff, you're wrapping your mind around. And it's not like going scuba diving. You're going in the water when you scuba diving. You're talking about jumping out into space. You know, it's another form of getting high legally. And so the other thing is, I always say this when I jump out. I say, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Granddaddy. If this don't work out, I'll see you sooner than later. I love it. I just love it. I love zip lining. I love doing those kind of things. I mean, I still roller skate. I'm really excited. I got me some Prince roller skates.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got the purple wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're outdoor skates.
Oh, I bet it's so pretty.
I'm afraid to go in the skating rings because, I'm at that Humpty Dumpty stage now. You know, you fall down and I might not get back up together.
Right.
Somebody might hit me in the head with some skates. So I want to go where I got some control.
Absolutely.
But I just throw that in there because I think that sometimes we think that when we're getting older that we don't have excitement in our lives. I mean, I do whitewater rafting. Wow. You know, I do the zip line. The only thing that I've done that I don't want to do anymore is bungee jump. I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. That was like getting hung alive.
Wow.
You know?
Wow.
Other than that, and it's one other thing I want to do. I hope I can get it done, but I might not. I want to do a glider plane.
A what?
A glider plane. You know, it's one of those planes up in the air that doesn't have a motor.
Oh, right. It just glides.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, you're not afraid. That's for sure. And those type of feats, you know, like that's totally something that I've never done. But it's so weird that if I ever did something, I thought about, I said, you know what? Jumping out of a plane would probably be really cool.
It would.
You know, I said that because it's amazing as long as you know how to get I don't know how to do it. You know way more than me. You got to pull that parachute.
But see, I always go tandem because I always want to have, I want somebody else that has a vested interest in landing besides me.
Mm-hmm. So you go with somebody.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, and one of my young ladies, I had Demetria Thompson and Jasmine Brown. And what I tell these ladies is, if you can jump out of a plane, there's nothing you can't do.
Exactly. Nothing you can't do.
That's literally, the sky is the limit.
Hey, y'all see why she's so jazzy, and she has this wonderful personality, and she's been so successful in her career. What is it about your fashion? I used to see you around, and we see you, and we follow you in articles and things. You've always dressed nice. You've dressed differently. Your glasses and your eyewear. I'm surprised today. Are both of them? I gotta look.
Oh, no. Okay, one is square with a circle and one circle with a square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always came out with these nice, really groovy, incredible, sharp shades and eyeglasses, I guess. I mean, it's just something that has become a part of you, your fashion and your eyewear. Did you know that you were doing this, or was this just what made you decide to go so different?
Oh, you know what? Even when I talked to some of my former classmates in school, I was always different. Wow. And one of the things that whenever I give anybody advice about going into politics or whatever you choose, do you.
Yes.
Just do you.
Yes.
It's you're adding another layer of stress on you when you are trying to be something that you're not.
Exactly.
I am eclectic and I embrace it, and that is who I am, and that's why I just do me.
Wow.
I do me. And
I
you take it or leave it. Let me tell you, either they like you or they don't. And that most people who don't like you is because they aren't doing something. Yeah, I mean, for people to make an opinion about you one or not, they're judging you because they should be doing their own business. There's no finer business than a line of business than to have a business of your own. Woo. If you don't have no business, you need to leave other people's business alone. Therefore, when they're talking about you, I take it like this. Hey, I'm saving somebody else from this experience. I can carry it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if you don't, it takes two to argue. Every argument you invited to, you don't have to attend.
You don't.
Let them have it.
Let them have it. Wow.
And that's the sad part about our children today. They don't understand that every battle is not a battle to fight.
Wow. Wow.
That's why we have all these fights.
Pick and choose your battles.
You pick and choose. My dad always said that there was two reasons why you fought. One was you fought to win, and the other one was the issue you fought to raise attention to.
Wow. Incredible information, you guys, on this show. Just incredible information. Mayor, let me ask you this. Where is it at here? I know you said you love music, and I saw something I read where your favorite song was of the Drifters.
Up on the Roof.
Up on the Roof.
I really do. It's just such a solace song for me. When this old world starts getting you down and people are just too much to take. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I really
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror.
That is such a... I don't think people realize how profound that song is.
Yes.
That song is extremely profound because it tells you that the finger needs to be pointing at you to make a difference. And that's what I really, even when I've taught at Central State with my classes, that is one of the songs that I generally have them do. Wow. Because it's so profound.
And for you, it's 5 that you named, but I'm gonna jump to number 5. You got that Aretha Franklin in there, and I love that RESPECT.
Respect. You gotta have some respect. Do you remember that when I first came out, if nothing else, it taught Negroes how to spell. Everybody was spelling respect. That's what that song had so much meaning to it. Besides teaching us how to spell a word.
Wow. Now, when I throw out there for you this question, just tell me how you felt when you saw your dad with the CJ Mclin, Junior Parkway there. How did that make you feel going around the city knowing that people riding up and down Daddy's Highway,
Daddy's Highway,
Parkway, Daddy's Parkway. How did that make you feel?
That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
He really wanted that, and Governor Dick Celeste made sure that happened. And so, but the one thing is this: I always say, I don't want no highway. Don't name no highway after me, because people done ran over me all my life. I don't want them running over me when I'm gone and throwing trash on me, leaky oil, car breaking down, glass and stuff on it. But that's what he wanted, so he got him a highway. I'm happy that that's what he wanted, and that's okay. But I don't want no highway.
You know that was going to be my question. So you guys, now we're not going to get the highway.
No, I tell all my friends, don't name, only the people that would name a highway after me are really my enemies that were in charge.
And we don't want that. What about book for you? Are you an author?
No, I'm not.
Are you going to write one for us?
I don't
know. Okay. You've done a lot, and you've imparted a lot in people's lives. It may be something.
I think the legacy. This is what I really truly believe in, and my dad has put this in my heart and my mind, that I saw what he did. Mm-hmm. But even after he's been gone so long, sometimes I think he should be calling me to tell me something, because we talk about him sometimes in such a way that it still seems that he's alive. And that the people that he's touched, nobody ever talks about what he wore. Nobody ever talks about what he drove, but they always talk about what he did.
Yes.
And how he made them feel. To me, that's legacy.
That's legacy. And y'all done heard it on here. This has been a legacy, very high level conversation tonight, with one of the greatest individual females that can walk this planet Earth, not just in Dayton, Ohio, but in general. We appreciate you so much for all the impact you have had on Daytonians, and you will go down in history. Whether there's a street, like you say, named after you or not, will not matter. Whether you write your book or not does not matter. You will go down. I was just trying to be a little bit, I wanted something extra. I wanted something that, like I could go back and say, I had her on my show. She got this book out now. Maybe I can even get one autographed, but some people just don't know the impact you've had. That's why I wanted to bring you here. And a lot of people, they want to wait until people are deceased and moved on. Then they want to sit up and say, "Woo, y'all remember Rhine Mclin? She was one of those approachable mayor. We loved her like a mom and a sister. You could just go to her for anything. She helped you with jobs. She helped you with advice in life, just anything. Always been that mother type figure to us in the community. So I just wanted to make sure I give you that shout out and this love today. You also, before I go in closing with you, you also were, where is it here? I got it here. You were hold on. I think it was the Woman of the Year. Well, I think it was 1998. You were the Dayton Daily News Woman of the Year. Yeah, 1998, you were the Dayton Daily News Woman of the Year. And just want to mention that. And can you tell us a little bit about Delta Sigma Theta. Is that part of your sorority, or is that?
Yeah, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta. I became a member in 1972
Mhm.
because the college that I attended did not have any black sororities.
Oh wow.
And when I tried to join one of the white ones, I had to end up suing them. But anyway, um, the point is that, sororities, the National Council of Negro Women, those are two organizations that when you talk about the Divine Nine,
Yes.
but the National Council of Negro Women are very near and dear to me because, Dorothy Height started that, and well, no, she didn't. Mary Methune, but we know Dorothy Height for so long. But
Hmm.
they do. They're not a loud organization, but they do a lot of good things in the community. They do. They see a need, they go to it, they do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate you because we always want to recognize our sorority sisters and our fraternity brothers. Um,
My
also,
grandfather,
uh,
my grandfather, C.J. McLin Sr.,
uh,
was one of the founding members in 1934 in Dayton of the Omega Psi Phi.
oh
That's
wow.
why I became a Delta, because of my grandfather.
Okay. There it
Mhm.
is again. A legacy with you was already there. They imparted in you, and you did what you had to do. My sister, Carolyn Mitchell, well, she's now Carolyn Fuqua, used to work down. She did so much, 30 years with the Montgomery County Board of, which is now we would call intellectuals. I'm sorry, uh, intellectual disabilities. She worked there for 30 years for the county, but she also worked over at the Dayton Urban League, and I believe you was on the board over there too, right?
Right, with when Willie Walker was there. Yeah.
Right, over there. Wanted to give a shout out on that for my son. I know she was over there. I remember going over to Urban League many times, and all the great work they were doing over there at the Urban League. Um, let's see here. Just going over this because if we go over, we can go over on our show because we can do that with the former mayor. Let's see. I don't want to miss. Oh, did you happen to know? I'm gonna name a couple other people because I'd be remiss if I don't. They my Fairview Bulldogs. I gotta mention them. Just like I gotta give you a shout out, you Dunbar graduate, and my first lady, Fran Mitchell. She just happens to be not only my beautiful brother's wife and first lady, but she's a Dunbar High School graduate. And so she went back to one of the recent all class reunions and recently and just had a wonderful, wonderful time there. Stacy Thompson. Do you remember Stacy, or did you ever happen to know Stacy when she worked down at the city council?
I just Stacy worked. She was on the school board.
Yeah, she was on the school board. Absolutely.
And I just talked to Stacy. I had to get off the phone with Stacy to get with you on this show.
Well, shout out to Stacy, and I
Yeah,
hope she's tuning in. A lot of people don't show up yet. They come in when they want to and all of that. And some just sit back. We like you to interact with the show because if you get a chance to interact with who I'm with on here tonight, it could benefit you. She's a wonderful woman. You need to interact. Stacy, appreciate you. I know you're married, doing wonderful things out there. Wish you great.
She works for Key Bank, and
Okay.
and I consider her a friend and a neighbor. She don't live far, so we check on each other. She lives in the right Dunbar area, which is
Yes.
the Foo area. I
Mhm.
live in the hood up on the hill. I
Yeah.
said this is the first time that the hood is on the hill. I get to look down on the foo-foos.
I know that's right. You looking down on the boo-boos. I know that's right.
I look down on the foo-foos. Depends on when anybody asks me where I live. I can tell them that I live across from the Drew Health Center,
Mhm.
or I can live 3 blocks from the Paul Lawrence Dunbar house.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, what about another guy I want to give a shout out to, another Fairview Bulldog High School graduate of mine, who basically told me himself, sort of like you, he didn't have any idea that he was going to get involved. Well, yours was different because of your dad, but he had no idea that he was going to be getting involved in politics at all. And that's my good buddy, Chris Shaw.
Oh, yes, Chris. Yes.
I'm so happy to see him, their legacy with the cleaners and all of that in Dayton,
I mean, I
Ohio.
knew his grandfather, and my father were really good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and that cleaners has been in almost 100 years?
About 100 years, I tell
Yeah.
you.
And I mean, that's legacy. There's so few businesses left that were like that. I mean, we remember we had the Bell's drugstore.
Yes, Bell's. My grandmother stayed right down the street from Bell's.
Yeah. So I mean, we had there was a lot. So anyway.
Yeah, Dayton is a proud place to be from. Even though, like you say, we gonna do Dayton, or Dayton might be Dayton. But
I call it Mayberry on steroids.
I feel like you can make it anywhere. It's helped me moving out here almost 14 years ago to the DC metro area. It has helped me growing up, being a Daytonian. I just feel like I can go anywhere and make it. I've never met a stranger in my life.
We didn't mention, since you're talking about being in DC, one of Daytonians' proud people, and that is the Black Eagle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe Madison.
Yeah. Yeah. You could talk a little bit about that if you want to.
I mean, he's from Dayton, and and I mean, it's just wonderful to know we have a lot of great people that come from Dayton.
Yes. My wife always thinks I'm making it up. Like, she say, you talk about Dayton all the time. If I see somebody on TV, she don't know we have so many like actors like Dorian Haywood and
Edwin C. Moses, Olympians.
Yeah.
Dave Albritton was an Olympian that coached at Dunbar High School, and that ran with Jesse Owens.
Yes.
There's just so much history.
So much history. And what about our inventions? Oh my gosh. The inventions that came actually from Dayton, Ohio in itself. If I understand it correctly, we have more patents.
At one time we had more patents per population than any place in the nation.
I think it's the starter on the car. Wouldn't nobody be starting up a car if it wasn't for us?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the Wright brothers,
wouldn't be flying.
And I tell you, the other thing that's interesting about the Wright brothers is that the Wright brothers and Paul Laurence Dunbar had a good relationship back in those days, because the Wright brothers published a newspaper, and they published the Tatler. They published Paul Laurence Dunbar's poems.
Isn't that incredible? Now, y'all that don't know Paul Laurence Dunbar, first African-American playwright, incredible writer.
And poet and international. And he even also worked at the Library of Congress.
Wow, worked at the Library of Congress. Just incredible.
And I can't think of the name of it right now. It's the Dahmer, I think. It's Dahomey. It was the first African-American amusement park here in Dayton, owned by Blacks.
Woo, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. That's good stuff.
And I tell you, there's David Fox, who was on the police department and also Central. He is such a historian on things, the history in Dayton. And we did lose Margaret Peters, school teacher, who wrote at least 2 books on Dayton Black history.
Shout out to David Fox as well. We know David, my brother that's on, real good friends with him, Carl Mitchell. David grew up in our neighborhood when we first grew up over on Home Avenue in Adelaide.
Over there by Royal, because...
Yep, by Royal.
Okay, I know that by Royal, because when we were in the urban gym, we had to make that route so he could show us where he used to live, that there were no houses left. But anyway, we did that.
Absolutely, man. That takes us all the way back. David Fox. And then, you know what my brother said? He said Mitchell's Body Shop used to work on some of the Hearst for you
Yay!
guys.
Oh, yay! Oh, my goodness! Of course.
My father fixed all kinds of cars in the community.
You know what? This is the sad part about integration. Integration really destroyed us as a community,
Right.
as entrepreneurs,
Yes.
as community people of looking out for one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if, no matter how upset I get, I got to travel off what I call my reservation to get my
Mm-hmm.
basic needs. I mean, at one time we even had a Unity bank. We had a bank. You know, we had credit unions, our own credit unions.
I know it.
We had so much. We had all kinds of cleaners. We had all kinds of drugstores. We even had our own little grocery stores. Remember, I don't know if you remember Daddy-O's, but anyway, I mean,
Yes.
and we had all our little bins. Was what I would call the first McDonald's in the West Side, where he had different hamburger shops around throughout the
Yes.
West Side. So, we even had taxi cabs. So, and when we became integrated, the white people stayed where they were. We the
Mm-hmm.
ones that had to move.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
the buses. So now we're going to different schools. We're kids next door, but we don't even know each other anymore because we're going different ways. And that's how, and what happens, kids are going to congregate. So, the Salem Mall went down by congregating of
Mm-hmm.
kids. Downtown became a problem, congregating of kids.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, and then with the closing of the factories and everything, the so-called middle class, the white flight. I mean, this is what we're
Mm-hmm.
left with.
Yeah, because we had so much. I mean, when you flash back and you think about it, we didn't even mention truck and bus and all the GM what it did, General Motors for Dayton when that went down, along with all the other incredible companies that were actually headquartered in the city of Dayton. Let's see. Yeah, my brother said Ben's Hamburger. You're right. When I was growing up, my mom, listen, everyone, she took me. I would go down to Rubenstein's or something to the store. I would meet someone that was black that would fit me or get my shoes. We'd go to the bank. My mother would go in there and she would see somebody that was a black banker. I would go to the grocery stores. We had our own community, like you say. Everywhere we went, it was our people. And we were seemingly, to me, and I agree with you, better before the integration. Because when we integrated, what it did was give us something we thought we were missing, but we already had. And all we had to do was continue to build upon it. And, it's the same thing because when we integrated, what did they do? They made it quotified. Well, you come on in, we let them in. Well, we're only going to have one person here, or we're going to have two people here. And you see it to this day. That's all it is. As we've integrated, you'll see a trickle of one, as they call it, a minority, but it'll be one black here, two black here, three black there. And this has been such an enlightening conversation for the crowd to hear, for the audience to hear, because I went longer with you out of respect because I feel like you got a story that needs to get out. I'm normally 45 minutes to an hour. I went longer with you. No, it was well worth it because this will go down into the metaverse. This will be here forever. This is going to be something that I want people to come back and be able to say that David sat with the former mayor, city of Dayton, Rhine Mclin, and look at this, run it. And this just going to be nugget after nugget after nugget, because you're not here without a purpose. Your purpose is being fulfilled. And you're out here helping people like me who looked up at you when I was a little mischievous kid. And here I am now interviewing you. I mean, it's just phenomenal, you know what I mean, for me. So with that being stated, I just want to say before we go, I know you still teaching over at Central State. Can you, or what are you doing currently the most? And can you tell us about that? And if it's any way that anyone may want to reach you, how would they do that if you're on social media or anything? So just explain that.
Well, I do a weekly radio show on WDAO from 10:30 to 11 on Tuesdays called
Mhm.
Fluff and Stuff. It's a lot of little fun facts, and I give out little history questions and give you a little information. I do that with Michael Ecton. I'm on the Montgomery County Board of Elections, and so I oversee the elections in Montgomery County. And I substitute teach in the Dayton public school system, and that is what I call a labor of love. It's not easy, y'all. We got, and each one of us needs to take a responsibility to try to help these children, because that's the future.
Yes, it
And
sure.
and of course, you did talk about I do the Funk Chronicles, so that's what I'll be about a little bit and a little dabble of this. I'm on some boards and things like that. So I've always got a lot going on. But the most, I want to leave with one comment and a
Sure,
quote from Shirley Chisholm. And
sure.
the quote from Shirley Chisholm is, service is the price you pay for the space you use.
Mm, wow.
Thanks, David.
I appreciate you so much, former mayor of the city of Dayton, Rhine Mclin. Been such a loving interview, spending time with you, with your kind spirit. I feel it. The energy just incredible in the room right now. You keep having fun doing your diving and coming out to planes, and who knows, maybe one day me and my wife might jump out of one of these planes or something, who knows. But what I want to do, I want to let you know that give me a day or two, I'll give you a call, okay? And I want to discuss a few things with you regarding health and wellness in the space that me and my wife are in. Could be some things that you may be interested in, and to help others in terms of these minerals with the sea moss and things. We'll talk more about that like we did a little bit off of camera. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, y'all, it's been a blessing. Yes, 937-757. And everybody else out there who be getting this. I just want you guys to know before my guest leaves the show, before she leaves the show, I've got, let's see, hopefully, Mayor, I'm working on closing the deal now. I'm very, very close. I know it's a done deal, but it's just trying to work on the timing of it. But I'm hoping that, and I'll fulfill this if not, but I know it'll come up. The 15th of February, I'm looking to have two-time champion of the NBA, Dayton, Ohio native, Dunbar High School graduate, Norris Cole, on the show, straight from the source with David Mitchell. He played for the Miami Heat, won 2 NBA titles, rings with LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and those guys. And he's a Dunbar native, Dayton Ohio. Such a humble young man. His dad's such an incredible guy. And his whole family, the Coles. I've had Johnny Cole on the show. I've had LC on the show as well. Just want everyone to know and look forward to that. Representing our people from Dayton and this two-time champion, Norris Cole. Also coming up after Norris, right? And if we don't have Norris in that slot, we'll move him up. Should be Ray Page. He's an owner of Supreme Styles and Beauty Supplies, African-American owner in Williamsburg, Virginia, doing a phenomenal job. He has a one-stop shop. You buy everything you want in his store. And then, finally, in between, I'm going to do a pre-recorded show, and I'm going to air it on my regular 8 o'clock. I'm going to have national sports personality Rob Parker on the show. He's been on ESPN. He's been on everything out there. His name's Rob Parker. He is a sports personality. Thank you, Mayor, for listening. Continue to support the show. I appreciate you so much. I feel like we just family. And I won't see it no other way. You family to me. When you come down to Hampton Roads in this 757, you can stay right with me and my wife. We got you. We got room for you. All we got is our little dog. Our 100-pound dog, Genesis, which is Nikita. But she's beautiful. She's beautiful and very loving. And just know that you're welcome. Okay? All right. I'll be in touch with you soon. You guys be blessed and have a wonderful night. Thanks for joining the show. God bless you. Bye-bye.